This episode of The Roll Up is sponsored by OCB Rolling Papers. Welcome to The Roll Up, Leafly's weekly news podcast. I'm Bruce Barcott here with Alyssa Yeoman and Hannah Staten.
Hi.
Hey, it is mid-December, and it is still sort of brutally gray here in the jet city of Seattle. How are you two doing? I'm medium. I am that emoji with the straight across line, eyes and mouth.
Nice.
Right? How you two doing?
Oh, if I could describe it myself as an emoji right now, I kind of feel like that wild ghost going like this with his arms up. Just because it's just the franticness of Christmas shopping and just how fast everything is going by. I feel like I'm missing it or something. So how about you, Hannah?
If I was an emoji, I would be the one where he's going cross-eyed or it's going cross-eyed and its little tongue is like I would be like that. I know there's scary ears, but my tongue would be out. I have lost my mind. I'm at that phase of December. So, it's been a crazy week for us here at Leafly. One of the biggest weeks of the year.
Absolutely. It is the Strain of the Year release week here at Leafly, 2021's Strain of the Year. David Downs will be joining us to talk about the Strain of the Year winner in just a few minutes. All right, Hannah, I'll give you a little bit of a dramatic introduction here. After much consideration and forethought, the 2021 Leafly Strain of the Year is...
Do-si-do!
Do-si-do.
The crowd goes wild.
The crowd is going wild. And they actually are going wild in the Instagram comments. I love a healthy debate among the cannabis community. And the Strain of the Year is nothing but a lightning rod to hear everybody's thoughts on what they think is the Strain of the Year and how do you define Strain of the Year. And we like to lean into that chaos and really go deep on our research, both quantitatively and qualitatively, to figure out what is the strain that has made a noticeable, I would say, impact on lineage and genetics in the industry. So a strain that has, through its own quality, basically of smoke, has spread throughout the industry with its genetics. And second, how has it made traction with consumers and smokers and stoners across the nation? And that often shows up in search traffic and how many page views a strain gets or how many reviews a strain gets. So in a world where the Leafly database has 5,000 strains in it, it's a pretty rare strain that can show year over year an increasing groundswell and support, both from the buyers and the smokers to the growers and all of that. So I would describe Strain of the Year as, we're not looking for the newest strain. We're not looking for the hypest strain. We're looking for the strain that has demonstrated breakthrough impact in the industry and has contributed more than there's thousands out there. This has got to be one. And Do-si-do, I think, is absolutely one of those strains. So we have a whole episode. We're going to talk to David Downs about Strain of the Year and that kind of thing. But Alyssa, I would love to hear, you have been running beautiful content all over social media all week. Tell me what it's been like. Tell me about what you think about it.
Yeah, it's hard to describe how I'm feeling about all that, just having been in the trenches all week. I will say I love seeing the healthy debate in the comments. I love that everybody's got an opinion about something. I think that's pretty great. But before David gets here, I actually have a question for both of y'all. What has been your personal favorite, or I guess I should say your Strain of the Year, the one that you just keep coming back to, can't stop?
Honestly, my Strain of the Year was Bruce Banner, which I know is kind of, old school by this point, but I got my hands on some nice Bruce Banner on one of my trips down to Oregon this year, where weed is wildly cheap. And I kept kind of going back to that. It just really worked out for me. I'm usually a low THC or a 50-50 THC CBD kind of guy, but 2021, folks, 2021.
Change that for you.
Yeah, change that for me. Yeah. How about you,
I'm a
Hannah?
huge Volcana fan. That's a brand here in Washington out of the Olympic Peninsula. And they have a strain called Deep Sea. And I love that. I think I could get, it's really nice bud, but you can get like a quarter of it for a pretty good deal sometimes, because it's you know how you can check out a dispensary using leafly.com to find deals near you. And I would just like keep returning and buying a quarter of Deep Sea and then whatever else to try on top of it. But it was just like that tried and true strain you could turn to pretty much multi-purpose for anything, and you were going to have a nice reliable time. And I think that's why part of why Do resonates with people is that it's one of those strains where it's kind of like in every stoner strain finds something out of it, because it's got this really balanced but noticeable head and body high for most people. That's what they report, and relaxation and pain relief. So I think whether you tend to be more of an energizing strain person or more of a relaxing strain person, it seems to be a good all-around pick for most people. They find Do really nice and agreeable. Maybe not for waking up and like paying your bills, but for a good, nice, when you've decided to relax, it seems like a great pick for most people in that way. So I think that's important too. Oh, another thing is, because we have listeners all over the country and even the world. I looked at our analytics and we have some listeners in other countries, and it made me feel like a rock star. I was like, this is incredible. So shout out to our international roll-up listeners. But the great thing about Do and the fact that really got popularized in about 2016. So it's been out there for a while. At this point, it's given rise to a lot of popular strains that are, I would say, more of the hype of the moment, like peanut butter breath and that kind of thing. Awesome strains, heavy hitters in their own right. But the great thing about Do is that it's pretty widely available in almost every West Coast market, and really starting to trickle into some of the East Coast markets. So if you're listening, there's a good chance you'll be able to find Do or one of its really close relatives at a dispensary near you. We definitely want to make sure most of Leafly Nation is able to partake in the joy that is strain of the year, right? Like, we don't want to leave people out by picking some strain that only, Justin Bieber in California can smoke. So I think that's fun too. Try to find it near you.
Hey, let's take a quick break and we'll come right back with David Downs, who can tell us a little bit more about the qualities of our strain of the year, Do.
This episode of The Roll-Up is sponsored by OCB Rolling Papers. In perfect harmony with natural and sustainable practices, the high-quality textile papers, responsibly sourced and sustainably crafted, have always been the OCB Rolling Papers signature. OCB Rolling Papers offers a full line of papers made with sustainable fibers, including flax, wood, organic hemp, bamboo, virgin, and come in a full line of sizes and in booklets and cones. No GMOs, no chlorine, and no dyes in OCB Rolling Papers.
We're back on The Roll-Up, and we have David Downs here with us to talk about strain of the year. So let's just hop to it. Do is a strain of the year. What's the word, Bird?
Do is something that you're going to find in your town in one way or the other. And I think that's something that's different for strain of the year in 2021. Last year, strain of the year was Runts, and it had a lot of hype and it had a lot of velocity. But the menu availability of it was lower. And I think in 2021, we wanted to broaden the stoke. That is the awesomeness. And so everybody can feel it a little bit more. And so we picked a strain that's been around a little longer, but is much more menu available across the country. And also, frankly, much more searched than Runts was. And I really think it speaks to the bifurcation in the cannabis community between the everyday smokers and the more casual smokers. The everyday smokers are on the cutting edge. And they know that Do came out was bred in 2012 and they really like hit a stride between 2015 and 2017. And they're smoking like second, third, fourth generation Dos crosses this year for clout against each other. Meanwhile, there's this much bigger group of people, frankly, that Leafly better represents. The Leafly Nation is 125 million users over the year. I think we publish, and we can cover the whole country. And we're more loyal to them than just the heat seekers out there who we satisfy with like Leafly Buzz or the top 8 strains of 2021. We see you. We see what you're smoking. We're enjoying it too. Leafly Strain of the Year, I think, is much more like when you pick a Artist of the Year or you pick like a Lifetime Achievement Award. It's different than the Album of the Year, where the album had to come out that year for it to be Album of the Year. In cannabis, it takes a few years for strains to build. And Leafly Strain of the Year 2021 is saying Dos is a U.S. staple now. It is the OG Kush of 2021. Go out and find it and smoke it if you haven't. If you have, give Archive Seeds' breeder Fletch his props and enjoy all the modern crosses you're going to see in the winner's circles at Cannabis Cups this year. The Peanut Butter Breaths, the Slurricanes, the Moonbows, the Rainbow Belts, the Dolatos, the Duct Tape. Reporting this story, I came away with like one big piece of wisdom, which is that growers, breeders, and smokers are in an epistolary relationship, a love letter relationship. And their love letters are pot. And there's a central conversation going on to cannabis, an $18 billion industry, among very few people in terms of the breeder and grower space, and then a bunch of connoisseur smokers. And what they talk about and love ends up trickling down into our reality 10 years later. I get that now. And to flag Dos is to flag a part of the central conversation at the highest level. And I'm glad we did that this year.
Tell us, David, what, if this is a Lifetime Achievement Award, what is special about Dos-do?
Sure. So it comes from 2 tried and true blockbuster families, the OG Kush family and the Girl Scout Cookies family, the GSC family. Specifically, it's a type of OG Kush called Face Off OG and a type of Girl Scout Cookies GSC called OG-KB or OG Kush Breath. And so it represents the best of those lines combined together, which makes sense that the family of the 90s and the family of the 10s would give you the child of the teens, and that is the number one. And then it was selected by the breeder Fletch at Archive Seeds because of its pungent aroma, its gas. We wanted to recenter the gasoline terps, the fuel terps, the astringent, biting, lemon dominance of Dos in 2021, in contrast to all the dessert strains we've highlighted in years past. We've talked about the gelatos, the wedding cakes, the runts. Dos is much more of a smack to the face. It'll grab your nostrils and it really asserts itself. And then the effect speaks to the high THC connoisseur who really drives this market. It's a strong strain. Feel free to blend it with CBD or lighter strains. Or if you are someone who smokes every day and is on Leafly every day, you know the Dos is going to give you a rocket right up and then sit you down, no matter how high your tolerance is. And then its impact going forward and the strains that it's sort of created, the Face Off OG line, the Breath line, these are the things that the Canna literati are talking about at the highest levels going into like the Emerald Cup this Saturday. And then we got to reserve a spot for how beautiful it is. Humans are so driven by visuals. Dos was selected to reset the bar for bag appeal in terms of how bright and shiny and dense those trichomes are and how deep and purple the leaves tend to be. It popped like no other and created a world where if you didn't have cannabis with bag appeal, it wasn't going to do as well versus cannabis that gave you that glimmering excitement that people are really looking for.
Nice. Hey, David, what did we have a couple of runners up this year? Like what, who else is on the podium?
Yeah. Strains that are newer, but less menu available and maybe a little bit less searched or less popular. So yeah, like peanut butter breath, which is a Dositos cross, GMO cookies, which is a GMO cross, and strains like that really dominated this year. We actually have the top 8 out there. We signed it to Mary Jane Gibson, the former High Times editor. She did a great job with it. It really sort of covers everything that the clout smokers wanted to talk about this year. The dominance of GMO. Cereal milk from cookies kind of broke out, both how it looked and how it tasted. It was another big year for apple fritter. There's 10 strains that are vying for the top of the modern era. Also among them is Kush Mints, and London Pound Cake and Grease Monkey. And you're seeing a lot of cookies in here as well as Mac. And that just speaks to the indica dominant hybrid, high THC, and then that cookie taste that the people have spoken. And in general, that's what they want. There's a center of gravity in terms of market tastes around these strains. Even though there's 5,000 strains out there and there's so many great new sativas, we highlighted them in our strains of harvest. We're going to highlight more in terms of like sexy sativas from the 2021 outdoor that you have to smoke. I think of like the Pink Jesuses and the Hella Jellies. But when you look at those top 8s in terms of what people talked about and what they bought a lot, it was a lot of those cookies crosses, even more so than Dositos.
Awesome. I have a question for you. I already asked my other 2 co-hosts this, but what was your personal top strain of the year?
This is so exciting. I have to whittle it down to one. I was trying to do it for, Janessa's like staff picks. And I am doomed. My favorite strains of the year 2021, personally. It has been a long year, and going through my photo reel and looking at everything that happened this year was just like, I mean, my kids started out in a garage. They were like learning in a garage. And you think of everything that's happened and everything I've smoked, and I'm going to run through everything and then I got to land somewhere. I got a shout out to everything I grew this year: Squirt, Hella Jelly, Gazungas, and Slurricane. And then all the stuff by Alien Labs this year rocked my world in terms of consistency, terps, and potency. Xeno, Gelinade, Gushers, Bisconte. Those are all the cookies and connected strains. GMO in general, Numps Garlic Noodles, 100% GMO cookies one, blew me out of the water this year. It came in one of those garlic noodles looking bags. Slushy and the Skittles Revolution, Zushi, Rainbow Belts, Moonbow, Zope. I love those like hyper tropical, fruity, just crime to break up, gorgeous green buds, and you can smoke them all day. And they're really hard. Chapo's Churro hit like no other. It was like another crazy OG. And Lemon Cane combined lemons with Slurricane, and it was great. So, I mean, it is so hard to pick. And how do you decide what's your favorite? I mean, is it what everybody else can get stoked on too? If it was that, then it would be like the Gelinade or the Xeno.
I always mark it by the one you just kept going back to. Like you were at the store, and even though you got the new, you were like, let me get the same one again, just as a buffer.
I feel like if I'm going that way, and then like the most recent, I would give it to Xeno. I would check the cross right now and see what the Xeno cross is, just because I was just in the green cross and I was picking up stuff for work that I had to shoot that, was more like work related. And then my splurge was Alien Lab the Xeno, because I could count on it to have really high quality and everything you're sort of looking for in the strain. Even though it's $75 an eighth. And it's a cross of Kush Mints and Skittles. So there you go as to why. Kush Mints is a just rockin' strain of the year. Skittles is a family of that everything's crossing into, and so shocker, a Kush Mints Kush Mints Skittles cross. Like, give me a pound of it and put me on an island, and don't even contact me for a year. Like, come back and I'll be like, I'll have a ball named Wilson, and I'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
I can see why you had a hard time picking, because that list you just rattled off literally just like my mouth was watering. I am so jealous. Can I get your Leafly budget? I don't understand. I love this, and
I never even expense it.
I kind of want to revise my answer.
But
I
people
kind
are
of
like,
want to revise my answer, which is I gave the boring one, which is the one I would go buy. But if I get to be, what did you call them? Canna literati? If I get to be a canna literati, like, mad gas, this is the hot gas, man. If I get to be that for a second, I think I would have picked Animal Mints as my personal, because that is one of those strains that, I mean, I'll be honest, those people know what they're talking about. Like, when you are that into your nugs, like a David Downs, you know, like, I'm into weed, and then the way you just talk about weed is like a whole nother level of weed. And y'all are onto things. When I actually do smoke what everybody's like, nah, it's the Cushmans, or it's the Dolati Gelati, or whatever, you're usually dead bang on. But yeah, the problem is it does cost $75 or whatever. Like, it is usually a little bit pricier. But Animal Mints is that strain. Like, she will take you there. I don't have, Alyssa or Bruce, do you have a hype pick, or have you tried Animal Mints or anything like that?
Yeah, I think my hype pick would be the one that was on the top 8 list, Apple Fritter. I loved Apple Fritter this year. And it was one of my favorites to dab this year. It was like such a great strain to dab and just like get your cleaning done or get whatever done. So that's both my hype strain and my favorite one from the year.
I don't have a hype strain. The thing that it did come to my mind, though, is that David's like one of those book reviewers who reads 350 books a year. And you're kind of the Nancy, I mean this in the most respectful and highest praise way. It's like the Nancy Pearl of cannabis, David. Like, you're ingesting all of these strains and coming back with the best, with the information for all the rest of us.
Slavishly devoted to your taste as well. Like, I wake up every day and try to serve these readers and stay close to the plant and stoke them out, because I feel like, karma-wise, I feel like that's got to add up. If they're like, oh yeah, David Downs put me onto this shit and it changed my life. Like, I get the text. I know, like, it's real when you find your chemotype that works for you, or you see a new color of the rainbow, you know?
Love it. Love it. Hey, thank you, David. Again, the 2021 Leafly strain of the year is
Dose-y-dose. Grab your partner, spin them round and round. It's not the face-to-face, y'all. It's the back-to-back.
The back-to-back. We'll take a quick break and come right back with one of my favorite stories of the year. It has to do with edibles, and in fact, one very, very, very large edible. We'll be right back. And we're back with one of my absolute favorite stories of 2021. It just happened to come in the last month of the year. A couple weeks ago, I received a photograph in my email inbox that, when I opened the photograph, my jaw hit the desk, and my first thought was, this is The Onion. This is a photograph that was staged by The Onion. Like, this is a Photoshop job, right? No, not a Photoshop job. It is a photograph of 5 food technicians, i.e. bakers, in the MaryMed Company's facility in Massachusetts, who created the world's largest brownie. Not just world's largest brownie, the world's largest edible. That's right, a THC-infused brownie. And the photo, I mean, I swear to God, it's like, those old jackalope postcards that you used to get from the American West, like what they have, they stage a rabbit with antlers, and it's like 7 feet tall. That's what this photo looks like. I followed up on it and had a chance to talk to two of the people who were involved in the creation of this brownie. So here's the story. The folks at MaryMed were coming out with a new line of infused brownies, and it's called Bubby's Baked Brownies. They wanted to bring it out on National Brownie Day, which was this past Wednesday, December 8th, and they wanted to do something big. And so they decided, well, let's make a big brownie. And I had a chance to talk with two of the people involved, Ryan Crandall, who is MaryMed's Chief Product Officer, and also talked with Jake Dean, who is the Senior Food Scientist sort of involved in the baking of the beast. And let me run you just a couple of minutes of our conversation. They describe how the idea came about and how they actually carried it off. Hold on. Here we go. All right, now walk me through the idea of baking the world's largest brownie. When did you all you and your crew start talking about this?
Yeah, so I mean it was several months ago. Around the launch and the inception and doing planning, and it's like, we've a little bit been in bed. There's several of us that have been very infatuated with the Guinness Book over the years.
Sure.
And really getting in there, and that was our aspiration really with the project was to we felt as though Jake and his team could execute, and we felt as though there was a window when we took a look at the world's largest brownie, non-infused. It was about 250 pounds. So we figured we'd blow it out of the water in terms of non-infused to infused. And, when Guinness Book is prepared to start taking more cannabis entries, we feel as though we may be, at the top of that list.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And Jake, how do you go about like the physics, the heat, the chemistry of this?
We didn't stray too far from how we make our normal product. Obviously, it's much larger than what we're normally doing. Our current product is about 10 grams per serving. This is an 850-pound brownie, so we had to scale everything up quite a bit. But we just sort of followed our normal process for making it, and it came out great.
How did you find? Okay, look, it's massive. Did you have an oven big enough to bake it?
Yeah, we figured out a way to make the oven work for us, and a little bit of an increased bake time, but yes, yeah, we got to fit it in.
What? Okay, let me ask you this. I mean, look, the getting that heat into the center of that brownie must have been a challenge. Did you go a little lower and longer bake time, or how did you do that?
Yeah, exactly. And there's also some baking tools that we're able to use that help heat sort of the center of the brownie.
Oh, really?
To make sure it does bake up evenly, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so this is an 850-pound brownie. And when Jake talks about the baking tools that they use to heat the center of it and everything, I did some research, and although they didn't give away their secret, they must have had some sort of heating core rods put into the middle of this thing to get that heat into the center. Because the center of this is deep within the mass of the brownie. This is 3 feet wide, 3 feet long, and about 1.5 feet high. Yeah. And it contains, I think it's 20,000 milligrams of THC, which that's a hell of a lot. A package of brownie will run 100 milligrams. Each serving is 10 milligrams. You do the math. Actually, I did the math. So and that comes out to about 23 milligrams per pound of brownie, which actually is a lower dose than I considered. When you think about if you're eating an entire pound of brownie, you're eating a lot of brownie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this picture, it almost looks like just a giant block of asphalt or cement. It's massive. Yeah. I can't even imagine. Are they eating this brownie afterwards, or is it staying in a glass case to be memorialized forever?
Good question. I asked that, and the kind of unfortunate thing is because of regulations around cannabis and around food and both and commercial products, they couldn't really just chop it up and sell pieces of it. So I think they're either selling it off or raffling it off internally within the company. But yeah, it looks like it's almost like the size of one of those salt licks that they put out for cows in the West, right? Like you could just come by and gnaw a little bit off of it every day. You could put it in the company kitchen or something next to the water cooler. Or it's more like one of those chocolate brownies or chocolate bunnies that you get for Easter, that you're like, by day 10, you're still gnawing on it.
Just trying to get through it.
I want to see what some of those Great British Bake Off people could do with some edibles. Like a giant brownie's cool. This is cool. Don't get me wrong. I think it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But if you made some kind of massive like marzipan palace thing that was all edibles, that would be something. You know? Like I would love to see that.
Let me give you the ingredient list here. To make this brownie required 81 pounds of flour, 212 pounds of butter, 250 pounds of brown sugar, 200 pounds of liquid sugar, 122 pounds of cocoa powder, 2 pounds of baking powder, 1,344 eggs, and 5.3 pounds of vanilla extract.
Not enough butter.
Yeah, right?
How did they infuse it? Was it the butter, or how did they use the...
Yes,
okay.
Yes, it was the butter. Yeah, I asked them, and it's the butter. As always, it's the can of butter.
Oh, yeah. The vanilla extract, I can't help but imagine them taking those tiny bottles and just one by one, like trying to pour it out until you have 5 pounds,
Totally. Wowee.
I don't even think I can conceptualize that many eggs as well. I think just... I can't even...
I mean, you're backing up a truck.
Right.
With those eggs.
Or I guess this is a silly question, but they must have like floor size KitchenAid mixing things, right? Like how big of a bowl do you need to mix up that brownie? I want to see that bowl.
Yeah, I think that bowl is person size. It is a human size bowl. You could take a bath in that bowl. Anyway, so
really quick has just really made me wonder about what an era it is we're living in, that a young David Downs probably didn't tell his mom, I'm going to grow up and I'm going to smoke weed for a living and write about it, and people are going to listen. You know what I mean? And I bet these bakers, these kitchen technicians never thought, or like, what did they do when they like kissed their like husbands and wives in the morning, where they just like, I'm off to work today where I'm going to bake an 850-pound pot brownie. Like, I just love that cannabis is giving these tremendous jobs to people that you couldn't even have dreamed of a little while ago.
And you know what, Hannah, as you say that, like all of what you're talking about is exactly captured in the faces of the 5 bakers in this photograph. Like, you see their just absolute wonder and delight. And can you believe this?
I have no other way to describe it except they look, the closest I've seen expressions is like people holding their newborn babies the first day at the hospital, and
the pride is so clear.
And not even this excited. Like, it's like seeing 5 parents holding in front of one 850-pound baby. It's a wild photo. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, and I especially love it because it's, that photograph is going to live as long as that company lives. It's going to be up there on the wall, yellowing over the years.
It's going to hang in these people's houses. They're going to be like a grandma and a grandpa someday, and the grandkids will be like, tell me what that's about. And they'll be like, oh, I baked the world's largest pot brownie once. Ask me about my career. Like, coolest grandparent ever. I love this. What a record to set for your own legacy.
Fantastic. So that is done by the folks at the MaryMed Company, and the small mini-me versions of the Bubby's Baked Brownie are available at Panacea Wellness. That's a MaryMed-owned cannabis store in Middleborough, Massachusetts. They will soon be available at dispensaries in Maryland and Delaware as well. So Bubby's Brownies, you can't buy a chip off the giant block, but you can purchase your own individual scale model of the world's largest brownie. Oh, and by the way, Guinness Book of World Records, actually, they are not, apparently right now, they are not accepting any cannabis related items or world records. So they did get in touch with the folks at Guinness, and Guinness said, very impressive, but we're not marking it down because of the cannabis element. I don't know why they wouldn't have marked it down just like as a brownie, right?
Right.
Like,
nobody's going to be eating it. You can just say it's a brownie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Anyway, good on those folks. They really gave me a kick this week. I love it, and that is a photograph that will live on forever. All right, now we come to the edge of the weekend. What are y'all up to this weekend? Are you baking your own brownies? Are you doing something else?
Hannah, do you want to go first?
Oh, what I'm up to? This will be my first Seattle weekend in a little while, so I'm very excited to be back home. I think I'm going to do some holiday stuff. Like, I always get a new ornament for our tree, just one new one each year, and I try to pick out one that's like very representative of something from that year. Like, I have a Chinese takeout food box from the year I ate a lot of Chinese takeout food ornament. That's a great one. I have, so I've got to go find one that really represents this year. That's probably going to be difficult because I don't know how you turn depression into a Christmas ornament. But I'm going to go try to get in the holiday spirit, try to do that. What about you guys?
I'm going to my first Christmas party of the season this weekend.
Yay!
So I'm looking forward to that. And it's like a fancy, we're supposed to dress up. So it'll be nice to be out and seen in the world in something that's not sweatpants.
Do you have an awesome outfit for it?
Yeah.
I do. And I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a really nice weekend. How about you, Bruce?
Nice. I am dressing my tree this weekend, trimming it as the holiday lingo has it. I am just purchased my Christmas tree for my apartment here in Seattle, and shout out to Kringle's Corner in the parking lot of the grocery outlet Bargain Market in the Central District here in Seattle.
That's where I got my tree.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yes.
All the best there. They're fantastic folks. They even have the traditional RV trailer whose window opens up and you slip your bucks through the window there. And they look at the tag and say, that's 8 feet, not 6 feet. Sorry. But, they have a category of tree there at Kringle's Corner that they just straight up call it the Charlie Brown tree. And you know who loves them, a Charlie Brown tree? This guy right here. Yeah. It's the Charlie. We're doing it up. Oh, I love it.
Christmas trees have mad terps.
Yes,
Pinene.
they do. Pinene. Yeah. I love that smell. Oh, it's the best. All right. Well, listen, thank you, listeners, for hanging with us another week, for rolling with us. We hope that you enjoy your pining, your Christmas trees, your brownies, and your do-si-dos this week, the strain of the year. Until next week, I'm Bruce.
I'm Melissa.
I'm Hannah.
Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.
Roll up.